Motorsports Podcast with the owner of Bent Motorsports, David Beckett, and his crew, Jacob Hunsinger, James Hernandez, and Jake Russo. Listen in as the guys discuss all things motorsports, including tech tips and current shop projects.
So what are we talking about this week, fellas?
Alignments.
Why don't we talk about alignments?
That's a good idea. That's something that everybody kind of neglects, I would say.
Yeah, I think the thing with alignments is that it has a little bit of a people think that you need that you can't do it yourself at home.
That's for sure.
Right?
People see the fancy infrared machines and stuff, and they're like,
They're a lie.
That's
computers, numbers, binary.
Scam.
It is a scam.
And I know that a lot of guys, and then there's probably an equal amount of guys out there who, guys and gals who do their own alignments, which is cool. So we'll talk about how we do them here, and maybe about how you can double check your stuff at home, maybe after a big trail ride, or if you're a track day guy. A lot of the track day guys,
You're not smashing
I
into
think
rocks.
get pretty dialed in quick on that because alignment is absolutely crucial to racing. So it's something that track day guys learn probably pretty quick. They get into learning how to do that. But I think the off-road community maybe not as much.
I think the whole idea behind that is that when you go off-roading, you just expect your Jeep to kind of be not all over the road, but you expect it to wander. So if something is off, you're like, oh yeah, whatever. It's just my Jeep or my Toyota. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
But when you're in like a track car and you have these little itty bitty tires that really find every single groove in the road, I think it's a lot more pronounced.
Well, I think in the off-road world too, we've talked about this in the past. People talk about death wobble, like, I got death wobble, or I got. You break so much shit when you're out wheeling that it's like, I got bump steer. I live with it.
Yeah, I noticed it a lot when one of our customers over at Catfish, this guy Julian, he's gotten really into the whole autocross and track day thing, and so I was doing a lot of work for him a few months back, and he would bring his car in just after one autocross, and everything was out of whack, like immediately, and it was like, I don't know if he had worn out eccentrics where they were kind of old and a little stretched out, but
I don't know. I would change my alignment settings, and they'd be there until I wanted to change them again. So
yeah, his moved around quite a bit.
No, dude, it's like death wobble. It happens.
He had like four other alignment shops do the alignment, and I don't know if it was just that. Maybe, I don't know.
Everybody's gonna get a different number with those machines.
And that's the truth of it. Is you could take it to the alignment shop, and it might not be exactly what they say it is.
I would say if you wanted to challenge your alignment shop, because there's a lot of great alignment shops out there, and there's a lot of great machines that do really good alignments, and there's a lot of guys who are really savvy at those alignment shops.
Yeah.
But if you wanted a quick test to see if that machine is good or not, you have them measure the car and don't make any changes, and then go drive the car around the block and bring it back in and have them measure it again and see if the two computer printouts match.
That's a good idea. I never actually thought about that one.
Because then that'll tell you that.
Are you accurate? Are your machines 100% accurate, or does scrub come into play with that?
Well, yeah, a lot of these things, it's how they pulled it onto the rack, or how the guy set the machine up, or how long it took to calibrate it, or there's a lot of variables. So it's all down to how meticulous the guy is every single time. And sometimes in some of these shops, time is of the essence. They're only going to get paid for an hour to do an alignment. They're going
to rush through it.
It's a business, man. They got to make money. They're not going to spend 8 hours doing alignment for you.
Yeah, that's where he got kind of pissed when I did his alignment. Was it took me forever.
Yeah, but he's got to remember that's
it's a race car.
That's race car setup. That's different than an alignment.
Well, the thing that took me forever was that his shocks were not adjusted right in the rear. He had a nice coilover setup, and everything was out of whack. So
that was the one I remember, right? The lower control arms were actually traveling
they were like,
upward from.
Yeah, exactly. Everything was out of whack. So it was like, not only was I doing an alignment,
it was lowered, right? Or was
it? Yeah.
So then he was pretty much already at the max. So when the camber would start to change throughout the deal, right?
It was too low at that too.
Yeah, it needed to be
way
raised
too
up.
low.
Because like once you hit, if you think about, there's two parallel arms, right? And then you have like a flat face in front of them. Once they move to a certain degree, either up or down from the pivot point, you're going to start to get like mad camber change.
So on his car, I remember seeing it. So imagine the lower control arm, the inside pivot point was like 2 inches lower than the outside pivot point.
Oh yeah, immediately.
Like the car
so
was
then
already in
it was going
compression.
negative.
No. Just the way it was set up, it was like from the frame to the wheels, there was like an upslope.
I understand that, but at that point in time, what does your suspension, the ballerina, do when you when it's like when the tire's like this? So this is positive?
Negative.
Okay, so let's go over some terms real quick. Let's throw some terms out
before
there
we
so that everybody listens.
We're just ruining
people, yeah, like I don't want to listen
people
to
like,
this.
I need to rewind.
Stupid, yeah.
So let's start with toe. Toe in. Everybody hears what toe in is. So toe in is the front center of your tire is in or out, right? So toe in is the distance between the front center of your tires is greater than the distance between the back center of your tires.
You're a good teacher.
Okay. And then if it was the distance from the center of the front tires was to be greater than the backs, then it would be out. So toed out, toed in. Okay.
Yeah.
Hard for me to draw that on a dry race board on a podcast, but
I just think about like being pigeon-toed. You know, people walking around with their feet pointed out. You're toed out, right?
toed out. That's exactly.
I don't know
right.
what the toed-in term for pigeon-toed is,
Well,
but
if you imagine
probably
your wheels
fixed.
are, what's the way everyone says it? Is if you were to draw an imaginary line coming off your wheels, they would eventually touch at some point.
Pizza.
Like a
French
pizza,
fry.
like a pizza, exactly. So French fries, if we have any skiers out there, French fries are that's zero toe.
That's parallel.
Zero toe.
Right.
Toe out, you're probably eating shit on the slopes.
Or at least going to have a groin pull.
You're gonna have a groin pull. Oh, there you go. Yeah, skiing terms. Everybody can understand skiing.
All right. So that now we know what toe in is, right?
Yeah.
That's
So
toe.
camber's easy. Camber is the top of the tire is leaning in towards the car, or that's negative camber, or the top of the tire is leaning out away from the car. That's positive camber.
A lot of people refer to that as stance.
Idiots.
Stance
Idiot.
Nation.
Okay, you'll not use
Stance,
that term
bro.
during the
This
rest
shit
of
is
this
hella
podcast.
flush,
The
yo.
stance.
Damn.
And then caster. We got caster. It's
Caster.
another key word, right?
Yep.
Caster is the rake of that front tire. So imagine the forks on a motorcycle, right? The forks on the motorcycle to where the pivot is down, where the axle is on the wheel.
Mm-hmm.
That angle is caster. So
Opposed
your
to-
knuckle on your car, your steering knuckle, there is in reference from the top ball joint to the bottom ball joint where that pivot is. The bottom ball joint will be further forward, and the top will be further back, and that's positive caster. You go
I'm
the other way.
imagining everybody's heads just. What the fuck are you talking about?
Or you could look
Very
at
hard
it
to
as a
describe.
shopping cart too, because if you have like almost zero, your shopping cart turns super, super quick. So that's one way to think of it, as like you have very little casters, like
What?
your shopping cart.
Yeah.
They're called caster wheels for a reason, right? They
Yeah.
have from where it pivots on the top to where the wheel rolls. The axle of the wheel is behind it. That way, the wheel
Oh.
is constantly trying to trail behind.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure. I like
I see what that is. I like that.
motorcycle. If you've ever ridden a chopper, a Harley, with a really raked out front
It's a
end,
ton of caster.
and it's super hard to turn. It's very straight. It's very stable.
Just meant to go on the highway.
If you've
Yeah.
ever,
Correct.
it's cruising like
Street bike, you're
Street
sitting
bike,
right over the tire.
it's right on top of it. Almost goes like straight up to straight. I mean, but comparatively, you might as well
Yeah.
be right on top of it, and you can just whip that front wheel. Just
So caster is going to be
Yeah.
what when you turn a corner and then you just loosen your grip on the steering wheel and the car naturally the steering wheel spins through your hands and straightens back out as you turn right onto a street. Caster is what's done that for you.
Yeah.
Okay. It tries to self-center the car, just like a caster wheel on a shopping cart, like you said. It's going to try to go straight.
Yeah.
And also, there's the other. It depends on if your
That's why those are called
suspension
casters.
is a part of the geometry. So if you have the like a motorcycle fork would be, when on a sports bike it has a very small amount, the wheel actually moves up and backwards.
Yeah.
It follows your caster, so that
Shorten the wheelbase,
It-
technically.
it depends, yeah. So all those things matter when you're depending on what sport you're in. If you're in, high speed off road, you want to be able to hit those big bumps and have it move backwards. That's more important to you than, say I know a lot of drift guys throw caster on there so that when they let go of the wheel, it just comes back and goes straight at a certain amount. Like they don't want it to go back too quick or
Yeah,
too
there's
slow.
like a magic number with drifters of what you want to hit for all your caster and camber angles.
Yeah.
Those guys
Give
are
you
going those guys are doing some
super-
crazy things too. They're
super
Yeah.
ridiculous.
beyond steering and stuff.
Yeah.
So another one we'll just throw out there real quick is I want to get is thrust, especially if we're going to talk about solid axle setups for Jeeps and stuff. So the thrust is the rear axle and how perpendicular it is to the frame. Or what I like to do is how is it in reference to the front. So if that rear axle is skewed one way or the other, then we call that thrust, and the thrust is off. Yeah. It's not exactly perpendicular to its frame. That's another something that we'll talk about. So again, this is a little bit. It'd be easier if there was a dry erase board and I could just do a video about this. But
you can always call. You can always come on by and we can explain it. But
yeah, we'll
do our best right now.
But yeah, we'll do our best right now. So what I want to talk about mainly is for something for you guys to do at home. Maybe you just went out and did John Bull or some trail where you think stuff got kind of beat up, and you're gonna just do a quick check, just like you would do everything. You're gonna check the oil. You're gonna check your lug nuts. You're gonna check this, that, and the other. You can also check your alignment. And if your alignment stays true, then there's a good chance that, all those components that are holding those wheels are not damaged, right? You don't have a bad ball joint or something broken.
What if it's super messed up, David?
If it's super messed up, then you messed something up super.
Yeah, super. Great explanation.
So what do we?
So let's do toe. Let's talk about toe first. The quick and easy, easy way to measure toe is to just use some 2x4s.
Yeah.
And a tape measure.
Two tape measures, right?
You can use one or two.
I guess
whatever.
you could, yeah.
So
say
let's go super basic, and you're all by yourself, so you don't have anybody to help you. You can take a 2x4, and you first of all, you want to get your vehicle on a relatively flat, even surface, right? You want to drive that vehicle up nice and slow and easy, and come to a nice, easy stop. No abrupt brake movements to upset the suspension. Essentially, what we're going for is
what happens when you're driving, right?
Yeah,
like
pretend
conditions.
like you could take a snapshot picture of your vehicle driving 70 miles an hour down the freeway. If you could just freeze frame that and go out on the freeway and stop time and measure your car, that's what we want. So a nice, slow, easy, careful driving forward up in a nice straight line and come to an easy stop and then get out, and now that's essentially your vehicle driving down the road, right? And if you have to back up a few times, 2 or 3 times, get it nice and even and straight and square, and you feel like it's settled in, then go measure it. And you're going to take a 2x4 and you're going to put it across the bottom face of that tire from sidewall to sidewall, front and back of that front tire, right about the level of the bottom of the rim. You don't want to get on the bulge of the tire that's sitting on the ground, right? You want it to be on the sidewall. You do that on both sides, right? You can use other wood to chalk it up or a brick or whatever, And then you're just going to measure with a tape measure from one 2x4 to the other, front and back. And you're going to see which number is greater or which number is smaller, right? Super simple. So zero toe would be what? You'd get the same exact number, right?
Yep.
If you measured the front and it was 76 inches, and you measured the back and it was 76 inches, that's zero toe.
Zero toe.
Right? Super simple.
That's the one.
That sounds super simple, right?
So what do you shoot for? If you're just driving, like, let's say you have a Jeep, you got a little 2-inch, 3-inch lift or something like that with 33s. What's the number that you want to shoot for driving down the highway for, like, toe in?
So 33s, I'd do a 16th of an inch toe in.
A 16th, so an 1/8 on each side technically, but
No,
so I guess
a 32nd on each side.
Oh, 16. Yeah,
Math's
hard. Okay, I guess when it comes into independent front suspension, then you start to see, like, I need a 16th on this side and a 16th on that side, because with independent front suspension, they adjust. There's 2 adjusters. You have one for the right and you have one for the left.
But I still
right?
think you want to shoot for a 16th total toe in if it's a rear-wheel drive car.
Got it. Okay.
If it's a front-wheel drive car,
You want to be 0, right?
it depends.
Stupid.
From
Depends.
what I've heard.
You heard wrong.
So-
Word on the street.
David
is,
says. Here,
So
say it,
front-wheel
David.
drive cars is a little different. You can go with 0. It depends on how much torque steer that car has, how much power that car has. You might end up giving your car a 16th of an inch toe out, so that when you do hit the gas and both of those front axles torque and try to pull forward because it's a front-wheel drive car.
Yeah.
So if you were to able to take that snapshot of that vehicle going down the freeway under acceleration, that torque would be a 16th of an inch towed in going down the freeway because of the torque on those front axles. So static on the ground, it's usually 0. It's usually 16th out. Varies a little bit depending on the car and the power and what we're dealing with.
So,
Jesus, John.
can we talk about torque steer?
John Snow.
Torque steer, sure.
Yeah. How would you? Can you solve torque steer with toe?
What is torque steer?
You can partially solve it, but then you're going to start sacrificing tire wear.
Okay, got it. Torque steer is when you're going around a corner in a front-wheel drive car and you hit the throttle, and then as far as I know, the way to explain it is the
kind of walks about.
It's
Australia.
Gyroscopic effect of a tire. It wants to go straight, right? So when it moves forward, when it spins more, you ever spin a bike tire?
Yeah.
On a bike that had the front end up, and it straightens out.
Got it.
Even if you try to tap it and go one way or the other, it wants to go straight, right? Okay. So when you're going around a corner and you add throttle, it's going to try to straighten it out and pull you out. So
is that what it is?
It's accurate. Yeah, you're battling that.
But why would you take a front-wheel drive car on corners?
See, which goes back.
Here's the dilemma that we're all running into.
Exactly.
I'll show you. Jordan Cox, another guy.
They kill it. I know.
No, yeah, I trust me. I got my ass handed to me for years for front-wheel drive cars at SCCA.
Box.
And the reason for that is they have that much less weight to put down, right? Because there's just that many less moving parts. You don't have to transfer energy all the way through a drive shaft, through a diff, through everything. It's just straight transmission out.
For me, it was they had bigger engines than I had.
A better driver.
Yeah. But I mean, well, think about how much weight you're losing. You know, if you took the drive shaft, the diff, all the axles out of your car.
Atkins diet.
Yeah, Atkins went on Subway with Jared.
Killing him.
You know, it's like you drop that much more weight. You have that much weight to throw around. It's
but
all inertia.
They handle like shit. I mean, you front-wheel drive cars, you just keep your foot buried in the freaking gas and keep turning. It's point and shoot. Wherever those wheels are pointing,
it's going to go.
It's going to go that
Back's
way.
just trailing along at that point.
Yeah, and the guys who drive those things and get good at driving them, drive the shit out of them, and they're three-wheeling every corner, you know?
That's so funny. Watch them go up hills like in the rallies. They're like, wah, wah, wah. You know, they kick the corner, guy e-brakes it while throttling.
Just dragging it through.
Yeah, it's fun.
Dude, there's
That's
some
rad.
dudes in rallies that just beat on front-wheel drive cars the whole time. Like,
was the CRX front or rear-wheel drive?
CRX is a front-wheel drive car. There's a guy up, what's his name? I forget. He's the guy who races in the Oregon Rally and the Mount Hood Rally and a couple other ones. And he actually got invited to go do one of the Max Attack rally course races that I'm not sure if they still do them, but they invite a bunch of randos to do it. And that guy kills it. He's coming into corners in 95. And that other people enter in at 75, and he's just and just getting so sideways from beginning of the corner to the end of the corner. It's just and then somebody asks him, they're like, "How are you so fast?" And he goes, "I don't lift. I just don't lift."
That's it. You can't lift. You lift, you lose.
I just more gas.
We should have got that Mazda, man. What was that Mazda? You looked it up.
Oh,
the one at the
great little car, the GLC.
Is that what it is? Is that what that stands for?
Yeah, the GLC.
Oh my god, that's a great little car, man.
Mazda GLC.
The gold one. Remember we saw it at the That thing was
pretty cool.
BA.
There was a little part of Mazda car history, hot hatchback era, little guy. He was cute. He wasn't
he
worth.
Was a cute
he
wasn't
guy. Worth anything. He was one of those ones that I went on to read about. I was like, how have I never heard about that car?
And that's why.
It probably went to the crusher.
I read about it.
There's nobody really has a following behind them.
There was 5 dudes. There was 5 dudes who were like, oh man, front wheel drive GLCs. That's pretty good stuff.
They started their own forum, and it's that one where you see there's 6 posts in each little section.
He also has the Le Car forum.
Yes, they're on a group chat as well as being on the forum, and they're like, "Hey man, did you see what I just posted? Yeah, dude, I'm on it right now.
Sick,
that was
bro.
so funny."
So now you've checked your toe, right?
Yeah,
and you know what your toe number is. You can use that same 2x4, and then just stand it up vertically.
Front window. Oh,
and just
never mind.
Stand it up vertically on the sidewall of the tire, and you can use the
same way that you did.
Yeah, there's just little angle finders, right? You can do a little carpenter's angle finder, and you put it on there, and the little thing droops down, and it tells you how many degrees it is. Or you can get a digital level from Harbor Freight for $5 and put it on there, and that'll tell you how much camber you have, right? And if it's leaning in, it's negative camber. If it's leaning out, it's positive camber. So all you want to do is get all your numbers, right, and make sure that all your numbers are the same before and after you go wheeling, and that'll help you figure out if you've got broken parts.
At what point would I have to, is there any reason why I have to jack the front of my car up to check anything?
Possibly.
Can you check it with your car jacked up?
No.
No?
You don't want to.
No, because it's not in the position it would be going down the road. You're going to get bad numbers.
But if you do have to make a change, sometimes there's things that you cannot physically get to with the wheel on there. Yeah, you have to jack it up, take the wheel off, adjust it.
Put it back on.
Hope that you adjusted it right. pull back and forth,
Sometimes
and forth,
it's
trying
just
to
easier.
unscrub it.
Sometimes, let's say you have 35s or 37s, or let's just say it's old and rusty. It's just another. You're trying to move when you make this adjustment, depending on what it is. You got to move all this stuff, and sometimes you gotta if your like a steering wheel is locked up, it's just gonna you're trying to work all this other stuff. Jacking it up does work. You just got to make sure you get that scrub out. At the next time, every time you make an adjustment, pull back and forth.
You have to get back in the car, move it back and forth, drive it back and forth, and reset it. Get out and measure it again.
And I think that's the thing that I find a little untrustworthy about some of the, I guess, shops that do this. When they're on a machine, they don't necessarily pull it back and forth.
Unscrub it.
Yeah, and it works.
So
it works, but
Their argument though is that their machine's so dope that they don't need.
Well,
to
what
do
they're
that.
going to
They
do
have
on their
slide
machine
plates too.
is their machine has plates, right? Like Jake just said, there's plates where there should be no scrub, right? Because it's going to give them freedom of movement. They're also going to hook their machine on and jack the car up, spin the wheel while their machine's hooked to it, and calibrate for run out, right? In case that wheel is just microscopically out of round, they're going to calibrate that into the computer, and then they're going to set the car back down on the lift, and they're going to do their measurements. And I don't like that. I'm not saying it's a bad alignment. I'm just saying I don't like it.
Dave's old school.
I just don't like it. I don't like that they jacked it up, spun something, and put it back down.
Joey Dunlop. He does all of his own work. He races his own stuff. That's why he's so good, because he's confident in himself. He believes in himself.
That's it.
Okay?
So there are a few other things. If you want to check thrust angle, you can just simply get a piece of string and hook it onto your rear bumper and walk around the side of the back tire, let it hit the sidewall of the tire, and then when you go to the front of the Jeep or the front of the car, you can pull the string in, and then when you see the string touch the front part of the rear tire, now it's touching both sides of the sidewall of the tire in the rear. As soon as you see it touch that, you can do a reference point from the frame and measure out to the string, and the same on both sides.
I feel like we have to make a YouTube video about this.
I think we should.
We should.
But just and then basically you'll be able to see if your rear axle is way off. You're going to see the string on this side is 3 inches away from your front tire, and on this side it's into the tread of the front tire.
Yeah.
And you're going to know, oh wow, my whole axle is skewed all the way this way or all the way that way. So there's just some quick reference. You can also do that for the thrust for the front to back. If you have a solid axle front,
Yeah.
you can use a string and go backwards, find the same information to see if that front axle is perpendicular to the frame.
All right. So I'm at the track. I know I'm at the parking lot.
Okay.
With the cones. There's cones there. And I feel like my car's not turning in good enough. What do I do? I feel like I want it a little
Drive
bit more
faster.
Drive faster? Don't do anything to the suspension. Want a little bit more turn in.
Well, it depends. Say your car is pretty fast
Cutting
and
brakes.
pretty set up, right?
Cutting
let's
brakes.
Say you've already
Cutting
asked.
brakes.
Cutting brake?
Yeah.
Yeah, if that's one way to do it.
All right. Sorry. Go on.
Are you Taylor? You're letting him know he's going to be a rally guy. You're going to put a cutting brake in his car.
What are we talking
I'll put a
about
cutting
right
brake
now?
in your car for sure. I'll pay for the cutting brake.
When are the gambler people supposed to show up? Aren't we talking to them today?
No.
Oh, okay. Never mind. All right, keep going.
Last time I give you a PBR. Sorry. Go on.
Too many beers.
He's at the track.
Okay, so you're specifically talking about autocrossing. Because
Sure.
you said there's cones in a parking lot.
Sure. I mean,
and
is
you're
it-
turning your car in. It's a
is it
rear-wheel
different?
drive car. It's a rear-wheel drive car.
Yeah.
And you're turning the car in, and it's not turning in. It's pushing, right?
Yeah.
So you either need to loosen the rear end up, right, or tighten the front end up. So if you loosen the rear end up, so the rear can come around easier, right? So loosen the rear sway bar, right?
Okay.
Or delete it,
Okay.
right? Or if it's just simply an alignment setting that you want, like you're just trying to get a car that's already set up and already pulling fast times at the autocross, and you just want it to be a little bit better, then you might tow it out a little bit
Okay.
because that'll help that inside tire turn in faster.
I always feel like the thing that really separates like some of the guys out there that I see racing are it's the magic. It's the magic behind. They're like, well, I run like 2.2 degrees of camber on the front.
They're all just telling you a bunch of bullshit,
one
so
in
you
the
leave them
back.
alone.
Really?
I used to tell people all sorts of
James.
stupid shit.
Man.
Yeah, dude, I just put like 8 degrees of camber in the front. You know, it
Yeah.
dials it in real
God
well.
damn.
I run reverse Ackerman, bro. It's where it's at.
You know, lowriders have like the positive camber. Like I do that.
You want your springs as bouncy as possible.
Every car is different. Every car is, unless you're out there running a spec class, right? Like, so if you run a specific year, make and model Miata, and you have the exact same options and accessories as this dude who's got this year, make and model of a Miata.
Did nobody else hear of this dude?
Then you could probably swap stories on what's working for him versus what's working for you, and you could improve dramatically because that guy is going to have a very, very similar car to yours. The major difference is that person may drive dramatically different than you drive.
Okay.
So their setup may work, it may get you there, and it probably will help you get there. My case, I was driving a 74 Triumph Spitfire that nobody had. So I had to go get my own data. There was no asking, hey, what do you usually run for camber on your Triumph Spitfire? Oh, it says nobody because nobody has one.
Awesome.
So you just got to go out and do your own data, and there's a few things you can do out at the track to see, measuring temperature on your tires and a few other things to figure out if you're running the right air pressure, if you're running the right camber, making changes and just noticing specifically what that change is doing, making one change at a time and then, actually paying attention to if that changed something for you.
You turn into a mad scientist at one point. It's kind of cool. So
where you think you're doing something, but you're completely not because you're crazy.
Well, no. What was cool? So that same guy, Julian, he had his car. We finally got it like pretty dialed in, and then he was like, "Hey, I'm doing autocross this weekend. Like, come down Saturday. If you help me out Saturday, I'll pay for your entry on Sunday. And so you can get to race your car." And I was like, "Cool, all down with that." So I went down there, and it was cool to see that all these changes that I made in the weeks prior were actually going into effect, and it was like, oh, dude, the car felt so much better. The back end was so much more, responsive. And, he had all this really good feedback. And, oh, excuse me, Jesus. These PBRs really fill up your tummy. And so it was cool because you're going along with it, and you're helping him out in the pits. And every time he'd come in off a lap or two, you'd check tire temps and see maybe we should adjust a little bit more camber out of it. Let's take out a little bit more air before we do that. And I wouldn't say we're professionals by any means, but it's cool to like get into that aspect of it and actually get to like a competitive level where he's really going for top time of the day, and he's trying not to settle for anything less. So for me, as a guy that kind of knows what he's doing, it's like, I think we should do this. I think we should do this.
Guys, he's ASC certified in suspension.
He's
and
real good.
I have a book that Dave gave me, and like before
he read that shit.
I read it, and I'm not smart with it, but I've read it.
And that's a start.
It was just cool to see everything like come full circle, and all of a sudden he's like, dude, that really helped, like this thing's responding better than it ever did. And it's cool to see like all this hard work that you put into it, like countless hours of getting that car tuned right, and it's right back to it. Which at the same time, he just got new coilovers, so
start all over.
It's starting all over again. I just helped him put them on last night, actually, so hopefully it
And in your experience, inversely, David, do you think, spend more time messing with your suspension or just drive better?
So what I did early on was I was lucky enough to be racing with my dad, so there was two of us racing the car. So until I could beat my dad, I could have no opinion on anything because I can't even beat the guy who's driving the same exact car as me, right? So if I didn't like the way the car handled it, didn't matter because he was driving it 2 seconds faster than me. And then what he would do and what we would do is we would go find a fast driver, anybody at the autocross who was a certified stick who knew how to drive, and to say, hey, please drive my car in fun runs at the end of the day. I'd really like for you to drive my car in fun runs. And most people who are normal race car, sluts like we all are is, hell yeah, I'll drive your car. And
Jon Snow.
You salute.
Winter's coming.
So then...
Slam my stick around Jon Snow.
I think we need to go back to a shop talk.
God dang it.
Maybe not.
Sorry.
Keep going with your story.
Hey,
Sorry to cut you off.
So we would have this person drive our car for us in fun runs, and it would, we'd raced all day, so we knew, say our best lap was 60 seconds. And then you get this person who's really good driver in your car. They've never driven your car before. They don't know how your car handles, and they get like a 58. we've been driving the car for a year, right? This person's 2 seconds faster than us.
Do you get too comfortable with it? Is that what it is? You're just
So in racing, what I found is you plateau for quite a while, and then you have a breakthrough.
Got it.
And then you plateau for a while, and then you have a breakthrough.
Is it because like you're finding like, wow, this is like as fast as I can go, and then you that one day you're like, I don't know, if I push it too much, this is how fast I can go. If I push it, I'm gonna wreck. But then you're like, well, I just got to do it, or else I'm not gonna get anywhere. And you just push it, and you're like, holy shit, I still made it.
Right.
Got it.
Yeah, you think you know where the edge is because you know that this is the edge. Because every time I go faster than this, I spin out. Well, yeah, but your skill level was way over here.
Yeah.
Well, now your skill level, because you've got way more seat time, your skill level is better, so you're a little more finessed going into it, or you're a little more finessed coming out of it. You're a little more gentle on the throttle. There's a whole bunch of variables that make you a better driver, and now your limit is not here. Your limit is here. So you forget that your limit can change. The car's limit can change.
Yeah, nice.
And you realize that, right?
He said what I was going to say. He said what I was going to add.
Yeah, you just read my mind.
Yeah,
there was
good.
telepathy going.
I wanted to ask about the car. Neat.
So when you start asking people to drive your car and nobody can beat you in your own car, all right,
you're
getting
pretty damn
somewhere.
good.
Now you need to start fine tuning the car, and we got to the point where we were saying, okay, the car is wonderful everywhere except for the back hill, the back corner. It's a downhill off camber sweeper. I cannot get through that corner fast. How can we make getting through that corner fast? And my dad and I would make tiny, minute changes to the car to go, and then go out there again and say, was that better or worse? Better or worse? We do it on a practice day.
Yeah.
And then we'd say, okay, now the car's really good in that situation, and we haven't compromised it in other situations.
I think that's one of the bigger things too. Is like I think you get to a point where you don't want to make too big of changes because it might just go completely south, and all of a sudden you're 10 steps back instead of being that one tiny step forward. But it's like, is that guy going to get comfortable with how the car is and just try and learn the car at that point? Is he going to make more changes and potentially be further back?
You definitely need a good starting point.
Yeah.
A bad starting point is always bad.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think there's a fine-tuning. The guy that wants
David
to go.
Beckett, everybody.
Yeah, everyone.
A bad starting point is always bad.
Stupid.
Yeah.
If it's in stock, we've got it.
We've got it. So that was one of the big things with Julian is I'm referencing this because it's kind of like the biggest experience I have with messing with alignments that really, really, really matter aside from a car that just drives down the road every day. But like same thing with him is like do we add another half degree of camber on the rear? Or do we, So there was this point where he was like, I think we just leave it. Let me feel it out. We'll do a couple more laps. And
see, and I disagree with that. Where does the car want to be? Did you measure the tires? Did you do any scientific measuring?
Killing it.
What is the car doing? What
Get
are the
him.
tires doing?
Bam. Get him.
The car is going to tell you, I don't like this much camber, or I need more camber.
Yeah.
You just measure it and measure the tires and how they are after a lap.
Yeah.
And it's going to tell you if you're close or not. Seat of the pants as far as your camber settings is not necessarily going to help. You need to see what the car wants. Get the data. Make the change.
May I ask
You'll
who in the end, who was the better driver, you or your dad?
I was.
You just saying that because nobody can look it up?
No, I was.
Knows?
He couldn't. We got to a point where he couldn't go fast. So in autocross, the way we do a two-driver car is the only advantage you get with a two-driver car, and you're not supposed to be an advantage, is as we all know, it's a timed race, right? It's a laser start, laser finish. Okay.
Oh, you have another opportunity, right?
Well, there's an equal playing ground. So say Jake's there in his Miata, and I'm there in my Spitfire with my dad, also co-driving with me. Jake goes out on the track. His car is cold as ice, right? Cold tires, cold everything.
Yeah.
Right? So his first lap is shit.
Got it.
Going to be guaranteed crap, right? Your second lap should always be your fastest lap. And your third lap is just in case I screwed up my second lap, okay? So he comes in, and then he's going to have a minimum of 5 minutes in the grid waiting before he gets to go.
So you have
again.
3 laps total, right?
3 laps total.
So does that mean that one of you guys gets 2 laps?
No, my dad gets 3 laps, and I get 3 laps. But I'm the second driver. He's the first driver. He gets a cold car.
Oh.
My first lap has hot tires.
Got it.
So I can get my best lap on my first lap, and then my second and third are both gimmies in case I need them. Okay? But in the rule book, I'm supposed to wait in pre-grid for 5 minutes, and they're not supposed to send me out with a hot car. Well, I'm sorry. 5 minutes is not long enough for my tires to go all the way back down to cold again.
Yeah.
So what you do is you put your better driver drive second.
Okay,
as a rule, just because you're going to get an advantage.
Just a good idea to
so
do
a
that.
lot of really good drivers always have a co-driver.
Got
It's
it.
like, hey, come here, man. You're my co-driver today because
Go warm my car up. Yeah,
right. Okay,
Don't wreck it,
you little peasant.
Yeah, and the guys who don't have co-drivers and kick the shit out of everybody, man, those guys are aliens.
You guys
Whatever.
are just killing it.
So in the beginning, I would always drive first, but then as time progressed and the years went by, I just became faster than he was. So we switched roles, and he became the first driver.
What about preferences? Did you guys ever have a preference? Because every driver's different, right?
Right. We drove totally different.
So would you make adjustments each time, like one to cater to you and one to cater to him, or was it just like your style of driving, or was it the car?
So the car wants what the car wants. How we drive the car was kind of irrelevant in this situation. But irrelevant? Did I say that right?
Nah, you said
the second. No, you got the second
Dad
time.
said irrelevant.
Irrelevant.
A very
I haven't even
The
had
revolution.
I didn't even drink any beer.
Yeah.
No.
So
Too many Dr.
in the beginning, the car was set up more for my dad's style of driving. And then as I became faster, I started having more input, and we would actually change the car according to the way I wanted it. But I don't think in reality it really affected either of us. On the autocross course, it's not. It may have been a bigger deal on a road course or something, but not.
Did you
on
butt
the
heads?
Negative, never. We were always on the same page.
So
That's cool.
I had a very cool dad. He was very, very.
Oh,
cool.
that wasn't sarcasm?
No, I'm serious. We
What the
never
fuck?
ever butted heads about it.
That's awesome.
When we were at the racetrack, it was we're here to have fun, and that's bottom
Go
line.
fast.
What a
How do you
rarity.
butt heads about going fast? You're like, what's going to be faster?
Yeah, what are we
going
going
to
to argue about? That we're at a racetrack racing a car? And fucking
I
having
wonder
a
what the
great
peasants
time.
are doing.
I don't know.
today.
Those people in NASCAR seem to get pretty damn butthurt.
Those guys are idiots. That's
Yeah.
Haha, got you, NASCAR.
Hey, no, for real though. If you guys watch
Well,
this,
I
and
get-
you want to stop listening, don't worry. NASCAR's great.
But I suppose if there was millions of dollars on the line, maybe I would get upset, but I doubt it much.
I think the point of NASCAR. Well, if you're racing, nobody dude, I can't wait to go be a software engineer for this company that makes software that tracks your clothing. This sounds rad. I'm not going to butt heads because this is sick. No, it's racing. You're racing, and racing is rad. So you shouldn't let that shit come in the way because you get to drive a car really fast.
Well, and the cool thing about the autocross is you're not door-to-door racing. There's nobody to get mad at except for yourself when you screw up. You can't blame, that guy was in my way, or I couldn't make it around that corner because
sun was in my eyes.
No,
that
it's
bastard.
you. If you went slow, you went slow. That's sorry, you're slow.
What was that video that we watched a couple weeks ago, James? It was the GT1 series at Laguna Seca. It was an endurance race, and it came down to the last 6 laps, and it was Team Porsche, Team Corvette, just duking it out the whole entire last half a dozen laps, and it was probably the most intense thing. And at the very end of it, coming around the very last corner, somebody nudged the other dude.
Corvette dive bombs the Porsche. Porsche puts him in the wall or something?
Puts him in the wall and just spins him out. The dude goes head first into the wall. It's you can get mad at that.
That's pretty whack.
Well, was it purposeful or
Yeah.
was
Oh,
there
yeah.
just so?
Dude,
oh,
these
okay.
dudes were going at it. I influenced you to watch that video 10 times.
No.
It's just super bad at. And
No.
literally, Corvette goes so hard into the wall. I thought the dude was knocked out. Kind of like Jake on his little barrel ride.
I saw another one that was the V8 Supercar series where a guy, he got the lead, and then the dude behind him, who was actually third, followed him into the lead, and then they came around second to last lap, and the leader messed up, got loose on a corner. The guy passes him on the inside, and then he blocks him all the way into the wall, and the guy gets blasted and then spins out in the corner, and what they did was they gave the guy a post-race penalty. So he still won, but they didn't make the decision until after the race was finished, so it wasn't applicable. And I was like, that is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. I was really irked over that.
Yeah, I don't like race politics.
Kind of like Ricky Bobby when they're both running at the
Exactly
end.
like
They
Ricky
both
Bobby.
run and
Exactly
they jump
like
towards
Ricky
the finish
Bobby.
line. That kind of thing, right?
So they still won, right? They still got it.
See, what happened was Cal Naughton Jr., he was in third at the time.
Yes.
And he got first place.
And
it was kind of the
you
same
get
thing.
You'll get disqualified if you
post-pen-
leave your car. So they both left their cars. And
But
that was
what
a
if you're
disqualification.
really upset? Stop it. What if you're super upset? Because I feel like if you're upset about something, you should just be able to do whatever you want.
What if your
Sorry.
daddy paid? What if your daddy paid
We'll
for
get
you to
into
drive
that.
for the team?
Getting really off topic.
Right.
So back to alignments.
Yeah.
What were we talking about? Alignments. Do you guys have any questions about alignments?
So what? I actually really do.
No, you
what's
don't.
the first step?
Then what's the point of being certified if you don't know what you're talking about?
I'm trying to tell
Jake, he can have a
the
question.
listeners.
Yeah, shut up, Jake.
You're not important here.
Get it, James. Get him.
I'm tired of your stuff.
Get him,
sir.
James.
This is going to be the last podcast ever.
Wiggity whack,
Circling
bro.
the drain.
So what would be the first alignment I guess measurement to take? You know, in the series of there's probably 3 or 4
Toe.
different ones.
Yeah,
Would you
just measure
take
toe
your
first.
caster first?
Doesn't
your
matter.
camber first?
Whatever
or-
one blows your skirt up, man.
But which one would you adjust if you had a fresh build? Everything's
Oh,
You
jeez.
just said it doesn't matter.
What?
said
You
it
got to start somewhere, man.
You
Just
said
pick
3 times.
something.
okay. I thought he was going to go a lot further into that than
I would say toe first.
okay.
There.
Toe
Toe
thrust caster.
It depends on the car. See, in my brain, I'm immediately going, does this have 2 solid axles? Does it have a solid axle in the
Yeah,
rear, independent in
yeah.
the front? Is it independent rear, independent front? What are we talking about?
Gotcha.
What is the easiest type of vehicle to adjust? Or like to align?
Go
Anything with solid axles and leaf springs front and rear.
Bingo.
Boom.
You can't
easy.
really change it unless you want to do a lot of cutting and a lot of turning and a lot
I
of
was just
welding.
about to say nothing is going. You can't adjust anything to an amount that is going to solve
However-
the problem of when you need to just cut and turn.
That being said, there are things out there to change leaf spring, solid axle stuff so that you can change the thrust.
Shims.
Right. There's lots.
What if
there,
you
there are
just
things
chim
out there.
it?
There's things you can do. So don't. If you've got a vehicle that's all out of whack and it's solid axles, don't worry. There's things you can do.
You don't need to cut and turn it every time.
Well, that you need to cut and turn if you need the caster, but
Well, you can use caster shims, but it's to a limit because that affects pinion angle.
right. So there's always that change
Cha.
that we got that balance.
Is your drive shaft a double cardin?
Exactly. Another
Different
thing that
video.
comes into play.
Oh gosh.
Different video.
Science.
So maybe we'll make a video about this and put it on YouTube.
We should
I
do a
think
little-
I say-
a little
I think I've
IFS
said
one.
Maybe 10 different times we're making a YouTube video for something, and then we haven't made any YouTube.
Well, we just started making them. We have one.
we did.
just
We actually
filmed one
made
today.
that James is going to edit, and it's going to go up, and it's going to be sick.
If
and
you've
we're all gonna like it.
read something that you enjoyed, like that style, that's James's style. James writes an enjoyable post. I'm serious. I mean,
Holy crap!
Holy
Jake
crap.
Hunsinger just said something nice about me.
shut the fuck up.
Somebody make me a trophy. Make it.
Hell freeze over.
No, but seriously, like I don't know, some of the stories just to be relatable, just to be like, you can go read this chassis engineering book, and you'll be like, what the fuck are you talking about? But if you go like a couple things on there, if you want like an easy read or
Go to
something
the
that's
Bent Motorsports
understandable,
podcast.
you're
and the-
ruining-
and
it's
the
not an
website.
advertisement, kind of.
Oh, sorry.
Well, we're making you. Thanks, Jake. That's actually really nice of you. Thank you. We're making YouTube videos now, and we kicked it off with doing some silly stuff. Which, what is that?
It's that like happy moment song from like the 70s movie or like 50s movies. I don't know.
There's going to be a montage.
There's gonna be a montage. It's gonna be
there's gonna-
emotions are flying.
This is going to be fun.
Maybe we'll blow something up, and I'll throw it in there too.
Oh, we're gonna set people on fire.
That happened. Dicks.
We did. We set David on fire when he was conducting an interview.
When
Sad
somebody
part is I didn't
throws a
even know
lighter, you should know that like some fun's gonna be.
Yeah,
Had.
at Jake too. Jake's the one who wanted it. I would immediately if that.
I used to
asked for
burn things
fire-
in his shop all the time.
I just didn't think he would set me on
Hey.
fire, but he did.
No respect.
All right.
Bite
I
the
only
hand
did
that
it so I
feeds
could
you.
smack your butt.
Noted.
Smack your butt.
That's true. Smack
He
David,
did put the fire out quickly.
Never gonna wash
and
the
with
hand.
much vigor.
Yes. Good Lord.
He really made sure it was out.
Do we going way off topic here, but do we have any updates this week? Anything
think
that's
so.
happened?
I think everything's the same, other than you've purchased the third set of headers for your car that you were going to make.
Killing it.
I never purchased a first set, so that's where you're wrong.
You
Dave-
never
Oh.
purchased the first. You never purchased the cast ones.
I sold them to Martin
So they've gotten to you, and you received the cash
Yeah.
from Martin.
today, actually.
No way.
Yeah.
Okay, go on, James, because this is stupid.
David, you have become a part of the Mishimoto Club.
Oh, yeah, man.
I bought the Mishimoto radiator.
Wow, that's very
Killing it,
ethnically,
son.
Accurate.
I wanna
Mishimoto's
say-
a Japanese company. Do you think those guys?
They're from
Are you?
I don't know. No, they're like British Columbia or something like that.
Cultural misappropriation.
Kidding me right now?
All right. Well,
Yes, actually, we actually got our Mishimoto supply.
You got the samurai.
No,
special.
We got that Mishimoto.
use that one. It's better.
So we got a whole setup from them for the TJ for our Jeep, the shop Jeep, the LJ.
It's a sweet.
So we're gonna do a
setup.
video on that. All this cool stuff that you can put in there. It's not just for drifters anymore.
I mean, I haven't seen. Gosh dang it, Russo! Have some respect. I haven't seen most of the inside of the packages. You showed me a really nice silicone.
I'll show you the inside of the package.
Oh, and that trans cooler, right?
The trans cooler looked really prime.
Real
Just
prime.
it does make a difference when companies have nice packaging. You can tell.
I like a nice.
It's
package,
beginning to.
I
end.
wear short shorts.
Just the way it's wrapped up, and it's protected, and
It's a good presentation.
When you put it into whatever you're going to put it into, it's.
Let's be honest.
Great.
It's nice when
It's
the
like a
product shows
peacock.
up. The product shows up, and you open the box, and it doesn't smell like
Hilarious
Harbor
feathers.
Freight.
Yeah. What's that? That weird grease?
Creosil or whatever
Yeah,
the stuff they
creosil.
put on
Yeah.
it.
But Pittsburgh comes with a lifetime guarantee.
Lifetime. Well, hey, what about Mishimoto? What's it say right on the box?
100% lifetime guarantee. You know
Yes.
what? You know what 98% is? Not
100.
100%.
2% of a chance.
So whatever
that you're gonna get screwed.
percentage that you think that you're going to get away with, you will.
So look for that video too on YouTube. We're going to do a whole thing where we unbox it all, look at it, install it in the Jeep, and show you all the cool stuff you can get for the Jeep TJ series of Jeep. They also make stuff for the other series, but we have a TJ, so that's what we got.
And then to test out, we're just going to bang shift that thing up a hill, spin a tire, thhrowing rock.
You said
Well, I'll
you
just tow a trailer.
Bah,
with it.
bah, 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 bah. Yeah,
no,
that'd
you
be
said
cool
you're going to
too.
get that Sidewinder, the Banks Turbo kit for it, right?
Right. No, not going to do that.
It's okay. We can put one in when I do my car, and then just see how long we can hold it on rev limiter.
Realistically, I think that's going to be a pretty big difference. It's one of those things that I think goes unnoticed in a car is how good the cooling system is.
You have a Mishimoto too, right?
I do.
Yeah, look
I
at
do. I
look
bought
at
one
these
for
guys.
How does that work
for
for
my
you?
LS.
Like, how does that work?
Oh, dude, it's so good. It sits in there like I haven't really used it yet.
Are you
I haven't-
super bummed that you ordered it before I became a distributor?
Yeah, really bummed. Because I would have saved like $80.
Yeah.
Which would have bought headers. So
yeah.
You only paid $80 for Doug Thorley headers.
No, not the Doug Thorley ones, the factory cast ones. But no, on a real note, I think that the cooling system is something that nobody really pays attention to. I know in a lot of the cars that I've had, I've never really paid attention to it. Like, yeah, I'm driving the car on the street.
Is the coolant still green? Cool.
It's cool. Like, let's get on
Is
down
it
the
brown?
road another day
Let's
or two.
drain it out and change it.
Yeah, and so to have nice stuff is probably a super big difference. This is going to be my first time having a really nice aluminum radiator, like dual.
Pause.
Yeah.
What would they call it? Like a dual bypass or a two row?
Triple bypass? Would you
Yeah.
get a heart surgery?
Yeah.
What's going on?
What are these,
No, the
shocks?
shocks.
No, it's rows. 2 row, 3 row, depends on what you want. I don't know. We put a 3 row in his truck. It worked great.
So what I'm trying to say is I'm looking forward to seeing like the difference that it makes.
That's all right, everybody. He still hasn't passed the cooling and heating version of the ASE yet. We're working
Yeah.
on that one.
It's really
I
hard
had-
to test.
On when I bought the 81 Toyota, it had like gnarly freaking
Oh, yeah.
heating issues. I did the whole cooling system. Radiator was last thing to do, right? And I don't know what was up with it. It just didn't want to work. But then I found an all aluminum. First of all aluminum's the way to go, no matter who makes it. Like that's already, a good place to be.
Sacrificial anode.
Yeah.
Don't
and
forget
then and then that was some science from Jake over there. You guys can Google that later. And so yeah, it worked out really well. I was the day I put it in, and then from then on, I could just really wring that thing out and not even worry about it. Especially like 22 REs, they're not like sometimes they overheat. They got a little bit of a reputation that where you have to worry about overheating, but it was really great. Also, there's a 2-row, 3-row debate. Like, well, if you have 3 rows, you have more, displacement surface, and then you're saying, well, if you have 2 rows, you have your better flow through the whole thing. So that's another thing people talk about. I don't necessarily have I just say probably put the biggest freaking radiator that you can fit in there.
I had a guy come in with a heating problem, and he had changed everything. Radiators, thermostats, hoses, everything. I just adjusted his timing, and the heating problem went away.
Gotcha.
Oh, what was that? What do we do that? That was the wasn't it an old Chevy or
I
something?
think so, yeah. That's how you fix that problem.
Oh no, that was the Bonanza.
Was that the Bonanza?
We did the. Well, I think that was an issue, wasn't it? Yeah, that was the Bonanza.
Hot. Yeah, he was running hot. That was a Bonanza.
Really?
Yeah. So if your timing's wrong, you can your engine will run hot.
That's probably why the Miata overheated.
No, it overheated because it's old as fuck.
Dude, the thing runs like a top.
And you drive that thing like it's
you burn out every day.
Top fuel dragster.
That's right. It's so fun.
You did a burnout earlier, and it was just like it just drove like 60% power the rest of the day.
I've never had a free car before, and it's really entertaining.
You're the people that everybody hates.
Yeah.
And so to recap, that's how you do an alignment.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Nailed it.
Boom.
Writing that one off.
God, we're getting good at this. We need more.
This has been the Bent Motorsports Podcast. Thanks for listening in. Be sure to give us a follow on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube at Bent Motorsports. Stay updated on the latest happenings, future projects, videos, and events here at the shop. Remember, guys, at Bent Motorsports, bids in stock, we've got it.